That's where he set up camp before he wandered over here and met whatever demise it was. I think tonight we make that our camp. Doesn't sound like bad luck at all, right? Hey everybody, Syntax77 here. I am down in the Superstition Wilderness and we're about to do 3 days and 2 nights of adventure, camping, backpacking, possibly finding some gold, a little bit of history, and a whole lot of legends in Arizona. Right now I'm currently at the Peralta trailhead. As you can tell by the cars around me, it's a pretty popular trailhead for day hikers. There's a ton of people down here. It is a Wednesday afternoon. We're going to be out until Friday. A lot of people use this as a jump off point to get a view of Weaver's Needle, which is a prominent feature around here. But we're going to take it one step further. We're not just going to take a view of Weaver's Needle. We're going to go towards it, into the wilderness, because Weaver's Needle is the centerpiece and potentially a clue for about $200 million in today's currency worth of gold. Something like that. So I'm going to put on the pack. I'm running pretty light on this trip. Definitely under 10 pounds base weight in the pack there. I do have a decent amount of water, but surprisingly for the desert, which we are in the Sonoran Desert, there is some potential for water, believe it or not. So at least for half the trip. So we'll figure out how that goes. But right now, let's lock up the Jeep. Goodbye, Jeep. Hello, cactus. And maybe hello, gold. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of history on this one. We'll get into that as we go, but let's check out this board. Official wilderness area. We are in the Tonto National Forest, and on top of that, it's wilderness, so there are some restrictions. Group size, mechanized vehicles, and other pieces of equipment. But all we have is a backpack and each other. And if you want to tag along with me, I'd enjoy the company, and maybe we'll learn a little something, or at the very least, see some beautiful sights. Plenty of pokey things, potentially some rattlesnakes and fun stuff like that. Because it is right now March, late March. This is about when the rattlesnakes wake up and they are thirsty for sun. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Try not to step on any rattlesnakes. Try not to sleep on any scorpions. And ultimately try to have a good time and survive for the next 3 days, I guess. I've got various maps as well as on my phone, which actually shows me already that I've gone the wrong way. So I'm going to back up over here. We're doing a loop. We're going to finish right here. Just picture a large oval loop, probably around 25 to 30 miles, depending how much scouting around for treasure we do. And right now we're at the bottom of that oval to the south. We're going to go counterclockwise as we delve into the mystery and the legend that is colloquially known as Jacob Waltz and the lost Dutchman's gold. And here's our first little stream bed, which should be an indicator of what water's going to be like. And we actually have some. It's a little stagnant, but not terrible. I'm living for a little bit around Sedona, 2.5 hours or so north of here. And being the tail end of winter, actually got 2 days in a row of rain. That's the first time I've had that since like January or something. So hopefully that's going to flow downhill and give us the water in these stream beds that we need to survive. Today's goal really is just get a good distance from the trailhead and the car, get some solitude, make camp, then tomorrow, once we're out there, really start poking around, looking for some old evidence, what they call Spanish hieroglyphs, some scratchings out in the middle of nowhere by Blacktop Mesa that supposedly hold clues to the gold around here. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're gonna get into all that, the missing mine, or maybe it's a cache, and whether or not it really exists. And a legend that is dated back about 150 years, which is actually, believe it or not, sprinkled with some confirmable facts, some newspaper stories and the like. And that's what makes this legend really kind of interesting, because there are little pockets here and there of real confirmable details and crazy stuff. Try not to get ahead of myself, but some crazy things that have occurred out here that seem to line up with this lost gold mine in some very unforgiving terrain. Many of those who've ventured out further than let's call it day hike range have gone missing over the years. Some missing forever. Some ominously have been recovered. First little opening here. There's two quote-unquote needles around here. That is not weaver's needle, which plays into our mystery of gold. That is miner's needle. Similar needle shape, but not quite as pronounced and exaggerated, I guess, for lack of a better term, as weaver's needle, which is hidden behind this ridge further on, deeper into our oval loop. It's named so because it looks like kind of a knitting needle. We're going to see it from all angles, and we're going to use it as a landmark for clues. I think for now, though, for finding camp, miner's needle is going to be our guide point. Oh, here we go. It's opening up again to another sea of saguaro cactus. Just endless miles of cactus. And being this time of year, kind of getting a little spring bloom, a little desert bloom. Look, we got some yellow flowers here. We'll see if we get any purples and pinks as we go. That'd be fun. Oh, there's some purple right there. Even if we don't find this gold, maybe we'll find some golden flowers, some cactus blooms. We'll see how it changes as we go. Well, my plan today, probably 5 miles or less. Just gonna go to that eastern side of the loop where there's more water, and hopefully we can just camp right around there, not worry about stocking up on water or anything until tomorrow. We can get a feel for how much things are flowing. In that little cut will be Labarge Spring and Labarge Creek that it feeds. Just hope for the sound of flowing water. What do we got here? Coffee Flat Trail, Trail 108. These are some old signs. Look at that. Dutchman's Trail is what we're on. So what do I want to do here? I'll probably check my phone, my map, see what is up. Okay, yeah. I don't want Coffee Flat. I think I want to stay on Dutchman, which rounds about miner's needle right there. A little uphill. Maybe from up here we can get a little vantage point to see what we're going to do tomorrow, where we're going to explore. We're about 5 miles in, getting a little hungry. Maybe find a spot to make a little food and look down into the surrounding area for where the water's flowing and where we want to set up camp. And that should be where my water source is, down there. All right, there it is. Actual flowing water. Pretty cool to the touch too. That is a good sign. The real question now is there anywhere flat around here to camp? And I'm about 300 to 500 meters or less from where I've tagged potentially to camp. So that means even if this water disappears, I can come back here. Right around here, not a good spot for campsites, but we'll just keep looking. I think we're getting close. Down in here should be protected from wind. I think the storm system that brought all the rain the last couple of days is gone. I think it's going to be calm, but nonetheless, the little wind protection is nice. The thing to keep in mind around these parts is these are like little sinkholes. All the cold air is going to rush to the lowest point. Almost picture like water running. So it could be 20 degrees cooler down in here than up on that ridge in the morning, because that cold air is just going to collect down here, especially when you're near water. But in my case, with a low of, I'm guessing 55, 50 at the lowest, predicted at least, I think it should be fine, because even if we shaved 10 degrees off of that, we're only talking 40 degrees, and I got a 40 degree down top quilt and a decent sleeping pad, so should be fine to go into one of these lower regions. It's definitely getting lush and grown in. I'm kind of following a drainage. Another half mile of progress. We do have water, although it's it was a little cleaner up there. I could dip in, I don't know. Yeah, that probably has a certain algae taste to it, but it is water. But yeah, I'm getting deep down in here. Just the shade alone has made the temp in here drop pretty substantially. We're under 2 hours till sunset, so I would like to just find something and call it at this point. Well, up ahead here is yet another tagged water source. Looks like it drains out that way, and that's a nice little tributary kind of flat area down there, so I'm thinking that'll do it. I hope. A little more sunshine over here too. I've gotten away from the ridge, so it's warming up a little bit and not quite as dark. So if I find camp around here, I might have light for a little longer, which would be nice. Now there's some water. So, look on this side. Woo. As long as I don't fall in, right? Whiskey Springs. So we just terminated that. Wow, look at what we just came down. Pretty cool, right? I'm just gonna poke around here, and I think this is gonna be it. This looks pretty flat. Matter of fact, a fire pit right here. I don't know what kind of cacti skeletons we could put in there, but it's not bad. I can definitely pop my single person tent up anywhere in here. It looks like even a spot over here. So this is perfect. I'm in this little bowl, fully surrounded. Yeah, it will get cold in here, and it feels like it already is without the sun, which has gone away. But yeah, this is going to be home for tonight. So, drop the pack, pause my track here. And, oh, well, speaking of which, how many miles did we do? 7.86 miles, 1,300 feet of elevation gain. That's just a bunch of up and downs, really. Well, there's a decent section where we're going uphill for a while from the parking lot, but we are out in the middle of nowhere now. It's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna make this home, figure out where I can drop a tent. Don't need too much of a footprint. Yeah, I think back over here is the way to go. Right over here. So, perfect. I am starving. I still haven't eaten. Keep talking about food. I've been drinking water, which is good. And the cool thing is there is plenty of water around here because it's right there. Oh man, that feels good to have that off. And there's a full view of the pack. Real light on this one. Like I said, definitely under 10 pounds base weight. And then my food and water. Grab the tent out of here and get set up. Yeah. So, because of the fair weather, this is the first time in a long time that I put my tent on the inside of my pack and my trekking poles, which I have not busted out yet, but tomorrow when we go looking for that there gold and them our hills, it might get a little dicey off trail. So I brought some trekking poles with me. I'll use that to set up the tent. And yeah, so that's that. Tent here, I'm thinking maybe you set up the tent, I'll set up the stove, and I'll have dinner going, you'll make shelter, and we'll reconvene. So this is for you. While you're setting up the tent, I'll get the, what is this, Peak Refuel, 23 grams of protein. There's actually vegetarian, believe it or not, which I'm not vegetarian, but I love Indian food and I love the Peak meals. So this is a butternut dal bhat. What do we got? Red lentils, chickpeas, rice, butternut squash. If we're still hungry, then no worries. I got various forms of ramen noodles for both lunch, breakfast, extra snacks as well. Also got some other fun stuff in there for tomorrow. But that's gonna be dinner, so get that going. Let that boil. And I'll see where you're at with the tent here. What do you got? All right. Gets dark quite quick, doesn't it? And the moon is not out, as I can show you here. Faint glow of blue, but it is dark and quiet out here. But yeah, good deal. Tent looks good. Little trekking pole tent by Outdoor Vitals. Same one I've been using for quite a while. And inside, awesome, we're prepped up. We got sleeping pad, 40-degree quilt, little inflatable pillow because we're living in luxury, and I'm feeling it. Looks good to me. We're close to water, we're down in a bowl. It's going to be very cold in the morning, but I'll tell you what, how about we do a little fire? We got the pit over here that somebody made. I put some twigs in there. I don't have fire starters, but I'm just going to try to do the best I can with the twigs in there and a little lighter right here. So let's get a fire going and some food. Let's give it a little shot of butane every once in a while. Luckily, this big piece right here was already here, and I'm just hoping I can get these twigs going enough to get a little tinderbox going underneath. That might catch. Not the end of the world if it doesn't. Wood's probably a little wet from the recent rain, but I gotta eat because I'm playing with this fire too much. It's hard to avoid doing that, but I'm hungry. I've been letting my food sit way too long. It's probably starting to cool down now. Get these calories in, get back on it tomorrow. Maybe find some gold. I'll tell you a little bit more about Jacob Waltz, the lost Dutchman. Morning. It's about 7 o'clock and 45 degrees. Went down to 38. But I don't know about you, but I'm hungry already. So let's see what it looks like out here. The sun is hitting the tent and it is rapidly warming up. Let's see what it gets up to by the time I get out here. But even now it's already jumped to 54 degrees. And I promise you it was 45 just a moment ago. All right. It was a little dim when I got here last night too, so it'll be interesting. Decent amount of wetness out there. That is for sure. Almost forgot where I was. I know it sounds crazy. I mean, I know I'm in the Superstitions, but just popping outside the tent and seeing all those saguaro cactuses and those rock bluffs and that laser beam of a sun, that late March sun, feels really good. So I really didn't want to get out of bed until it hit like 50 or so, and I think I accomplished that. Didn't do the best job with my food. I just have it right here in this prickly bush. There wasn't a whole lot of options that wouldn't tear it apart, but there's my food bag. Probably a little too close to camp, but oh god, if I can even get it out of here. Man, it's really stuck on there. I'm probably putting tons of holes in it. So what are we gonna have for breakfast before we get out there and find some treasure? Maybe in the theme of gold, we go with a nice golden mac and cheese. Cheetos, jalapeno style. Got the heat on low, so I'm not wasting too much fuel. This can is partial. I've used it on like 3 trips now, so hopefully it doesn't run out. And we'll have some cheesy, golden deliciousness. And speaking of gold, the legend around here is referred to as the Lost Dutchman's Gold. And the Dutchman is Jacob Waltz, at least according to the legend. And historically, there is a grave in Phoenix, or outside of Phoenix, not too far from here, with the inscription of Jacob Waltz. And there are records of him coming to the country around 1838 and right at the age of 38 years old. So roughly around that time period. Emigrated here. Now he wasn't actually Dutch. No, he was Deutsch, German. And he did live around here and ultimately died around here. And the broad stroke of the legend is that he found a gold mine out here, or potentially a gold cache. There's kind of variations when you dig into it on that. Was it just a really, either way, it was said to be a very productive, extremely thick vein of gold. Like, so awesome that you could, if you found it here in the desert, you could go in there with some tools and just hack off chunks of gold. We're not talking like gold miners like the show in Alaska where they're like sifting through all this silt and then at the end they get a bunch of gold dust. Now we're talking the stuff of movies, just chunks of gold in this mine. And in other accounts, it's that this mine actually had processed or already at least excavated gold in there, just waiting to be hauled away. A cache of gold, if you will. And he supposedly kept this a secret out here in the desert. And there's a lot of twists and turns to the story. Like I said before, there are actual factual things twisted into the story that really kind of keep you going. Like, this isn't just a legend of some guy with a secret stash of gold out here. He would periodically show up around these parts in town and would have gold, and he'd sell it, and it's on record. In one case, if you want a good example of on record, he sold $250,000 worth back then in that currency of the 1860s. $250,000 worth of gold. And who'd he sell it to? The US government. He sold it to the mint, and I guess they either put it in reserve themselves or made coins out of it back when money was real. So it's little stuff like that that makes it really cool, because this guy did show up with gold periodically. Where he was getting it from, I don't know. Out here? Maybe. We're gonna poke around today and find out after we get some food. It was looking like soup before, but now it's actually thickened up pretty well. Still craving salt. What is going on with me? You know this thing probably has plenty of sodium too. Yeah, 630 milligrams in 1 cup. But it's tasty, it's cheesy, it's carby. It'll fuel me up to get out there. That works. Nice little easy breakfast. And it's warm, although I'm getting warm too, to be honest. I think I can probably ditch the windbreaker slash, for me, they sent me some gear, asked me what I wanted to try out, the Outdoor Vitals dudes, and I asked for this because it does have water resistance too. So I got this as just like a ultralight rain jacket. I mean, this thing's only a few ounces or so, but it's nice. Actually, I can feel the sun on my skin. It's probably good for sun protection as well, because it does breathe pretty nicely from what I've discovered. But I think it's time to put that aside, because it's like 80 degrees right now. Ah, man, it's just, the temp's going up and up and up. My tent is, we're pushing up on 9 o'clock. We're waiting for it to dry out. It was soaked in dew, and it's just about dry now. So that's good. I won't have to pack up and carry around a wet tent. So I'll finish up this meal, and we'll get on the trail. And along the way, we'll visit a little spot, a little creepy. Another thing that is confirmed by newspaper articles and police reports from the 1940s. Because a lot of people have been out here looking for that gold. And yeah, kind of spooky crime scene that we're gonna check out along the trail here. But first, I will finish my meal, pack up that tent. We'll get out there and find out another little piece of the puzzle. Let's go find some clues. Gotta cross back over the water here. There's the trail over there, but we'll cross right here. Deep grass. I almost thought it was a herd path for animals. It's not quite as well worn. I guess that's just because we're getting deeper in here. Goodbye, camp. You were good to us. It is hot and overcast out here. You can kind of hear the trickle of LaBarge Creek. We're walking alongside of it. We kind of hop across it back and forth a few more times. But up ahead here through this cut, we'll get to a crossing of LaBarge Creek once again, and a prominent intersection around here, right by that blacktop mesa. And this area is a key spot because of that whole crime scene thing I was talking about. It was actually 1931. There was potentially some foul play. Definitely a head found. Later, a body. Sorry to be gruesome, but this is confirmed. It did happen, and it was someone definitely involved with the mystery of this mine. His name was Adolph Ruth, and back in 1912, his son helped out somebody with some legal problems that was tied to, I believe they were tied to the Peralta family in some way, which is a pretty well-off family around these parts. They were involved with mining and whatnot. And as a thank you, I believe he was Mr. Pedro Gonzalez. He told Adolph's son, Irwin, that there's a mine out here with a cache of gold and details on it, basically. So Irwin tells his dad, because his dad is pretty adventurous. He's into, just as a hobby, scouting around for lost ruins and stuff like that. And remember, this is 1912. Now, I don't know the reasoning why, but it took about 20 years. And finally, his dad, Adolph Ruth, decided to do an expedition out here. And he came out to Apache Junction, very close to where we started from this Peralta trailhead. See the connection there? Local rancher put him up there and got him outfitted, and Adolph requested that he drop him out here for a 2-week expedition right around these parts. At that point, Adolph was like 66 years old, I think, to be exact. He had an injury to his leg, some metal pins in it, and he walked with a cane. But he was up for the challenge, so he came out here, and against the advice of the rancher, he dropped him off. Not down where we were at Peralta Trailhead, but up from this section and hiked in this way. His plan was to set up camp, and I think by all accounts he did, at there's a spring that we're gonna hit, his old campsite. Nothing's really there, it's just where he camped like we just did. But he never showed up for the pickup. Mr. Rancher Dude did a cursory, kind of quick search for him because he didn't show up, and that was that. Until, that is, like a month or so later, something like that, in 1931. Somebody found a skull near the intersection that we are headed to here. And it still had a little bit of biological material on it, but it was pretty much a skull. It did have 2 holes in it across from each other, front and back of the head or something like that. One small, one big. So if you know anything about ballistics, you kind of know where that's going. A local doctor checked it out, and by comparing medical records, or dental records rather, matched up the fillings and concluded that it was indeed Adolph Ruth, or his head. Just his head. Kind of creepy. And here we are, crossing LaBarge Creek again. And even though we're on the stream, super quiet again. Beautiful. Pretty cool area. So where was I? Yes, Adolph Ruth. His head, his skull, was found, but the body, not, whoo, as I almost fall into the creek, the body wasn't around. It was about a month later, in 1932, January. somebody went back out there, I believe it was newspaper reporters, and up the hill a little ways, they did find the remains of a body. Metal pins in the legs and some other identifying gear or features, clothing, stuff like that. And turns out that doctor was correct about the skull. It was Adolph's. And the conclusion by many is that somebody bumped into him on the hunt and he met some sort of unfortunate demise. The cops in Maricopa County at the time, back in the 30s, did not criminally investigate it. They just wrote it off as he went into the wilderness. He was a fool looking for gold, and he died of either thirst, elements, or, in their words, heart disease. The truth? I don't know. We'll never know. There are some extra details that make it even more interesting. Yes, the plot twists, or develops, rather. Some things found in his wallet, or at least on his persons when they found those remains, that made things a little more interesting. And this is one of those things that is proven both by the cops and newspapers back then. But for right now, I'm going to keep my eyes on the trail, watch my footing, and we'll get down to this LaBarge intersection by Blacktop Mesa and see what's around there. The trail is basically alongside or within a riverbed at this point. It's getting a little tough to follow. I know that sounds weird, but the riverbed's so wide that I don't want to just follow it and then realize later. Oh, there we go. A little pile of stones that somebody was kind enough to leave out. I don't want to realize later I've been following the river longer than I should, but yeah, actually this is a great example. It's going back into the grass alongside the river here. So you can tell that from the width of this thing, when the rains do come, they come pretty good. And it's basically winter is when rain happens around here. You get those 3 months. In fact, to jump ahead a little bit, that is kind of how our protagonist of the story, Jacob Waltz, met his demise. In 1891, there was a huge catastrophic flooding event in Phoenix, and a lot of people lost their homes and livelihoods, and a lot of flooding. And Jacob came down with pneumonia right after that flood, most likely as a result of the wetness. Ended up very ill, and Julia Thomas was her name. She was kind of his caretaker. She nursed him, attempted to nurse him back to health, but unfortunately he succumbed and he passed away. But on his deathbed, he told Julia his tale of the gold hidden out here. Don't know exactly what he told her, but she spent the rest of her life either searching for it or eventually, smart move, selling maps for $7 a piece, which is quite a bit back then, to people looking for the gold. Whether he was telling the truth or not, you have to keep in mind, he did often show up with a bunch of gold that he needed to sell. This really added, once again, to the legend and the drive to find this gold. A lot of people were said to have followed him into this desert. You know, he would go on a little expedition out here, just like we are, and people would try to follow him just to see where he was going. Where is this mine? This guy always has gold, and there's rumors about him having a little cache out here. Well, a big cache. But as the story goes, nobody was successful in following him. He either evaded them or, you know, maybe chased them off with the wag of a pistol now and then. And it makes you wonder, 50 years later, did somebody follow Adolph Ruth into the wilderness out here? What did he know? Not quite sure. We're getting there. Weaver's needle is actually crow flies right that way. So it's out of sight. We're gonna weave, get it, through these cacti and probably bust out around that side. And then hopefully, I do believe, we'll get a view of it right around when we get to the spot I'm looking for on LaBarge Creek. Tell you what, that heat is getting to me a little bit. A far cry from the chilly temps this morning. But look at this. That is Weaver's needle. The beacon that often comes up as a point of interest around here, a clue or a landmark for the location of the gold cache or mine. That is Blacktop Mesa, and up here is an intersection which we're going to go left at. It should keep me on Dutchman's trail. Let's double check it. Yep. Oh, careful with that. It's been there a little while, hasn't it? We're going to go this way. Now up around there is Blacktop Mesa. The trail goes around it. You can kind of see it weave in there. But right around here is where Adolph Ruth's skull was found and removed. No other remains were found, and his body was further ahead up on this hill from the accounts that I could read in the brush, which there's plenty of brush around here, but it was uphill, potentially over here. And the interesting thing is, remember I said there were some facts that kind of made things interesting. And that particular fact is, when they did find his body, well, not his body, but remains and clothing and whatnot, they found his checkbook. Yes, a 1931 checkbook. And he had used this checkbook to write down some notes. And he had written, apparently, before he died, however he died, in this checkbook that he had found the mine, details of finding it, and a final line of Veni Vidi Vici, which I think in Latin translates to did it. And that is in police reports and newspapers. So that's super interesting because, I mean, that's an elaborate hoax. If you're gonna pass away in the desert and you're like, you know, the last thing I want to do is write a little thing in my checkbook, some notes on the fact that I found the lost Dutchman's gold mine. Pretty weird. So, who knows? Did he find it right around here? Did he bump into somebody while he was scouting around? Share a little too much? And then some foul play incurred? I don't know. There's also many accounts of other people confirmed disappearing out here. It's just kind of a weird area. Also, there are reports from other people, again, hearsay in this case, no facts, but There's one person who swore that every time they come out here, back in the 30s or whenever it was, that there was a sniper that would try to either intimidate them or actually was trying to hit them. So, doctor's report said that his skull looked like point blank with a firearm. But there's also theories that somewhere up in these hills, somebody didn't like people poking around, and perhaps he fell victim to a sniper shot. I don't know. Strange, but there it is, Weaver's Needle. And so what we're going to do now, the place that Adolph Ruth camped is around there on the other side of Blacktop Mesa, and there's a spring. I don't know if it's flowing right now, but that's where he set up camp before he wandered over here and met whatever demise it was. I think tonight we make that our camp. Doesn't sound like bad luck at all, right? Maybe there's water. Maybe we find something. Just kind of want to see where he camped and maybe camp there ourselves. And along the way, I'll probably bushwhack up here. We'll go to the approximate location of where his actual body was found. Now, you might be thinking, that's super weird. Why would his head be so far removed from the body? That doesn't necessarily mean foul play. I mean, coyotes. This is a desert, desolate area. Any type of predator, or, well, any animal that ate meat could have carried that away as a little, you know, food source, unfortunately, for Adolph. So, that's a possibility. There's also theories that foul play involved. Somebody was dragging something away. I don't know. I don't see any natural reason, even for a super depraved person, to carry the skull an extra quarter mile and then let go of it. But I don't know. Just don't know. But either way, I've been looking at maps of this for like a decade, so I have my guesses based on reports and looking at maps, topography, accounts from newspapers, etc., of roughly where the body was found. So we're going to go over there and poke around on the way to Mr. Ruth's last campground. At least the water's flowing. We're going to jump off the trail here, hop across the water. Watch out for cactus. Right now it's probably about as thick as it gets, or close to it. Hopefully no rattlesnakes in here. Just looking for any sign of anything. My question is, if he camped over there on the other side of Blacktop Mesa, what was he doing in here? To get himself killed or expired. Perhaps he was really thirsty and sick, and there is water right there. So if he was camping over here, maybe following his own path, potentially out of desperation, injury, thirst, whatever, and going for water. That could make sense. Or was he looking at something around here for a clue? When did he write that information in his checkbook that he was so excited about? And if he was a victim of foul play, when did he meet him? Was it just here and he shared too much? Were they hiking together for a little bit? Somebody you met out here? Just don't know. It's a foreboding place, there's no doubt about that. Would not like my last moments to be, well, I guess anywhere, but out here seems rather lonely. This almost looks like a natural path, probably for drainage, but would he have taken this? I mean, I am. Path of least resistance. I'm just kind of following this natural path, like I was saying, but could be coincidence, you know, for sure. Could be coincidence, selection bias, whatever. But when I plunk down on the map, a little GPS pinpoint based on all the stuff I explained earlier, whoops, as I break my phone, based on all the stuff I explained earlier about where I thought they were describing his actual body being found, it's right up around here. And you can see this is kind of a natural shelf. And me personally, if I was going to take a break after trudging through all that nonsense, I would do it around here too. If I was going to talk to someone who I trusted, nefarious or otherwise, or if I was just sick, wounded, ill, this is a good place to stop. It's also a great vantage point. I'm not standing in the brush. You can get a good lay of land from here. But what was he looking at? But it is a needle in a haystack, you know? The reflections, old tin cans, nothing. The hieroglyphs I have tagged as well. It's way up high there, but generally in this direction here, I don't want to go straight up that. I see this natural saddle here where that lone bird is catching thermals. So I'm gonna try to carefully go through this cacti, maybe get up to that saddle, and hopefully I can ride that up. A little thick in here, getting scratched up a little bit. Ow. But we're getting there. Not gonna lie, this is kicking my butt a little bit, but I'm definitely not going down around that. So up here it is. Hopefully it's one of those things where once you get there, you're like, oh, I can't believe it. It wasn't as bad as I thought. I mean, for perspective, we came through that cut all the way down, followed along into that sandy spot, and then came up here. So I suppose we can do this. Haven't found any clues on the ground yet either. But hieroglyphs should be straight ahead and up. Oh my. Alright. Feel like we're getting close. At least to the top, if nothing else. Because that's what it looks like. At this point, I'm going to start really keeping an eye out for, ow, darn it, pokey stuff. But no, keeping an eye out for markings on the rocks. Should be around here. But I'll tell you what, that was only a half mile from the bottom, and probably one of the harder miles, or half miles, I should say, that I've done, because we've gone up about 850 feet at a half mile. So that's, you know, 1,700 feet per mile. That's pretty serious. I mean, that's pretty decent. Similar to that would be like Devil's Path back east. Pretty hardcore trail. Has a series of up and downs that are 1,600 feet per mile, up, down, every mile. So this is up there with that. The difference with this is no trail. So for me personally, it was pretty challenging and pretty cool because just, well, loose scree and a lot of brush that I've been pushing through. It's taken a long time to scale these 800 or 900 feet of elevation gain. And I think, honestly, psychologically is a big thing. Just because at least if I'm, even on the Devil's Path, at least on that, you're on a trail. So mentally, you don't have that element going. Out here, several times, I would just stop and be in the middle of a thicket of barbed wire and just be like, what am I doing? But once you're halfway up, and it's even worse to go down, it's a strange feeling. Strange feeling to be alone going up that. You're just like, well, we're in it now, so let's do it. But enough waxing poetic. We are in it now, so let's do it. I'm gonna scan along these rocks. I hope this was all not for nothing. No, it's not on this rock face. What about this? So I believe this is what we're looking for. Yeah, so these are the original ones that have been written about since back during 1800s. And some think this is some sort of indication of a clue or something to where the gold might be. I don't know. I can't make much out of that. Maybe you can. Oh boy. Don't get the vertigo. It's almost like a sun with things coming out from it. Various circles. It goes down here. And some people think that they're trying to indicate from here where the gold mine, cache, whatever you want to call it, is in relation to Weaver's Needle. As I carefully make my way over here and position myself. Yeah, I'm gonna poke around and see if there's a couple other markings. Don't think I'm gonna go that way. No, but it's interesting. It's crazy. Such a vast open area. So we came through there, and if you can see that faint line, we went all the way down, camped somewhere in there, I believe. Popped up, you can see the erosion of the trail there. We went behind there, all the way down there, around the corner there, came straight up 850 feet or so. I'm a little tired, and it's late in the day, and I'm talking about heights, and I got jello legs from a long day, so I think I want to get off of this steep area. Yeah. I don't know what you mean, but And I think this one here, I could be wrong, but I think this is an original. Yeah, I think this is original, which might give an indicator to somebody to go around the other side and look. Oh my. There's a lizard sleeping on the rock. Oro, I think that is an original one from the 1800s as well. And these little squiggly lines. So I mentioned my fuel canister was low. After breakfast, my mac and cheese. Oh man, that sounds really good right now. I wish I had another one, but my troubles are far beyond that. Because after eating, I tested my canister. And guess what? Yeah, it is, or it was, expired. I have no fuel. So I got a couple packs of ramen noodles, but I'm gonna have to eat those raw. And a Mountain House meal, chicken and dumplings, but I'm gonna have to cold soak that. I've never tried that before. A lot of the hardcore ultralight people love that. You just put cold water in a backpacking meal and you let it sit for, I guess, hours instead of minutes. The problem for me is the only water I have is over here, or maybe over here. But either way, I already put drink mix in it. Can't cook with it. So I gotta find some water, add that cold water to my Mountain House meal and let it soak. And then hopefully by the time I set up camp, I'll eat a nice, cold, mushy bag of chicken and dumplings. So we're gonna take this down a couple miles or less, hopefully. We'll hit that campsite that Mr. Ruth set up at back in 1931. Unlike him, I will be cold soaking some Mountain House. Let's just hope the spring is flowing. That would be important. Doing our creative route straight up side of the mountain didn't really provide any extra finds, but it was fun. Don't think many people do that, so we were in the position to potentially find something new. At this point, we have a couple hours of sunlight left underneath that haze in the sky. Getting a little steep and rocky. Might have to take the trekking poles out. I mean, I have them. Might as well use them. Because it'll probably speed me up just to have the extra confidence of having poles. Keep me from falling on my face. Poles are definitely helping give a little confidence to my steps on this steep stuff. And down here, actually, so I'm not going that direction, but I do see a reflection right over there. That is water. So that's a good sign. Now where we're gonna go down around here and to the left of this cliff's edge. I can't tell if I see a reflection down there. I don't know, hope for the best. Worst case, I guess we could double back over there, but even though it looks easy from here, it's probably a few miles if we went all the way over there and then reverse course. So we're gonna roll the dice and go for campsite over there. Bingo. We are less than a mile from camp. If you can hear me over the babbling brook, which I'm very happy to see. So, fill up and cold soak it. I guess until it's edible. Now, it's possible I can get a fire going tonight, but I can't guarantee that, and I'm not going to worry myself about that. So we're just going to give this a shot. All right. Throw that in the outer mesh. Keep it upright just for safety. Should be good. It is 5:45. Not a lot of time till sundown, huh? That's all right. Well, we're kind of in a little mini canyon here, headed towards Willow Spring, the camp that Adolph used back in June of 1931. Compared to the surrounding areas, they're already cut off from the sun. But we got a fresh flow of water right there. In AR's case, it was June. It was probably a lot drier. He may have been just camping up here because he was right at the source of the spring. This may not have been flowing like that. And there's Weavers right ahead of us. I'm sure he was fixated on that. Probably not a coincidence that this is where he camped in his final days. I think it's going to get a little dark and chilly in here. Good thing I got a hot meal to look forward to, right? But I think this is our area, right around here. I think this is it. I go away from the trail here onto this little high rise. This looks pretty promising. It's a little quieter, away from the water. Maybe a little less humidity and dampness, but I'll still be within striking distance of water so I can fill up at night. Just need somewhere that I can put up my tent without it being just on top of completely jagged rocks like this. Yeah, it is so much quieter back here. Protected from the wind. Got a view of the needle there. We'll set up a tent. Check the clock and see how close I am to having my cold soaked chicken and dumplings. Oh yeah, this is awesome. Beautiful view. Not bad at all. And what do we have right here? Bingo. If this doesn't say tent park here, I don't know what does. We did it. We got our home. I could see how you would want to hang out here. Pretty good spot. Water, protection from wind and all that. All right. Sleeping pad. Inflate this. Got the tent up. Sun went down quick, but probably gonna go down and get some water after this. Check out my cold soaked meal. I got a fire pit. I don't know if I want to mess with fire again. It'd be nice to add like a little half cup of warm water to my cold soak just to not have completely cold dumplings, but that's all right. I don't know if I have it in me to play around with fire forever. I'm pretty hungry, but get that situated. And then tomorrow, I don't know, we can mess around and see if we see any other interesting features or nuggets of gold, little pieces of history and whatnot. But yeah, it is nighttime. I'm glad the temp is dropping because there was actually a bunch of mosquitoes around here when I first showed up, and got a couple small bites, but luckily now temp's going down. I think they're starting to get a little sluggish, and they'll probably go to sleep. We'll see if they come back out in the morning, but not bad. So there's that. Put the bag in there. Probably sleep with my windbreaker again. Just because this is a 40-degree quilt and it works really well in a hammock. It works good in a tent, but you can get these in wide or normal. And if you're going to get a hammock for hammock camping, but also use it in a tent like this, I would highly recommend getting a wide version because you want it to drape over both sides of you. And for me, this is a regular, narrower cut. So when I move around, I get drafts, which is why I usually sleep with, you know, a flannel shirt or something like that. But should be okay. It's only going to 55. I don't know what I'm complaining about. But yeah, that's that. We'll zip this up, keep the bugs out. Saw a scorpion today. That's interesting. But I don't want one in my tent. He was like a little orange guy, not too big. I flipped over a rock and he was there looking all creepy. So yeah, we'll keep the mesh shut and the bugs out. Eat a little dinner. See how that comes out. Because ironically, I actually have a little cactus fire going. Some old cactus limbs that I found laying around. Actually got them to light up. Probably won't last too long, but the warmth feels pretty good. It's keeping these bugs away until they do finally go to sleep. But I'm too lazy, and I've never really tried cold soaked, so I'm just gonna eat cold, probably ice cold now, chicken and dumplings. You know what? Not bad. Consistency is perfect because it's been hydrating for a couple hours. There's plenty of times I've made it hot and it's still a little crunchy because I'm impatient. So even though it's cold, it is perfectly rejuvenated with the water. So I'll have this, maybe look over my maps a little bit more, throw in a podcast, hop in the tent, hit the hay, and we'll see what happens tomorrow on our third and final day. Do a little more exploration, see what happens. So, good day. Great night. Can't complain. Warming up already here at Adolph Ruth's camp, or at least my guest of a camp. Got a nice view of Weaver's Needle back behind me there, or in front of me actually. Decent access to water, so I got like a liter of that. Should hit it hopefully one more time. And after that, we're on that long skinny loop. We're kind of a little past the top apex of it on the western side, which is the dry side, drier side, and pretty dry now from what I gather. So doing about 9 miles the last couple days per day, probably similar today. I'm just gonna pack up the tent and we'll get right on it. It's about 7:30, so that'll give us plenty of time to hike out and discover some other things. I have something called Heart Cave marked on my map that I found online. I don't know what that is. We'll check that out on the way out. Didn't find any gold or much evidence of Mr. Ruth around here. While I was exploring a little bit on the way to get water, I did find a big discovery, an old tin can. Not sure if that was his or not, but yeah, that's about it. Food inventory, let's check that out. I'm gonna bag all my trash. It's not actually food. So I am down to one thing of spicy ramen noodles. Of course, I don't have a stove, so I will be eating that snack style, just raw with seasoning. Two mini Slim Jims, and this block of chocolate peanut butter trail mix that turns into liquid during the day, then resolidifies into a giant block of sustenance at night. Maybe I can gnaw on that before it thaws out too much or melts too much today. All the chocolate is settled to one corner, so I just have a pure hunk, a gold nugget of chocolate right there. All right, I'll pack this stuff up and get this tent down, make it look like we were never here. Thank you, Mr. Ruth. And yeah, pack it up, get on the trail. That's sun. But we're back at it. This is Peralta Canyon and Peralta Canyon Trail. Right over here, though, is the only shred of humanity that I managed to find exploring around here. It's not gold, right? Not too impressive. Could be anybody's can from anybody's year. Well, probably not the last 20 years, I'm guessing, maybe 30, based on the type of can and condition, but that's it. I'm sure following the events with Ruth and his situation out here, this has probably been picked over if this is where they believed that he camped, if I am correct about that. Especially considering that they never actually did a criminal investigation, which, by the way, if any of you are having the same thought about this, some of the authorities actually went so far as to suggest that maybe he met his own demise at his own doing, and that's what those two holes in the skull were. But I find that a little strange, because with his checkbook and other remains, they found the pistol that he set off from the ranch with, fully loaded with unfired rounds. So I don't know how he would have pulled that off, but hey, tell you what though, if I ever hear of any members of local law enforcement that sold a bunch of gold around here back in the day, I might be a little suspicious of why they thought that case was so cut and dry. Who knows? All right, gaining some elevation pretty quick. Looks like we're actually scaling up out of the canyon. There's the where I camped, right down there. We're gonna snake our way up and head that direction. Let's see what's up top here. We're getting close, real close to Weaver's Needle, the beacon of the mystery around here. I'll tell you one thing for sure, as we leave the mystery of Mr. Ruth behind and get back to Jacob, I'm sure he was all over exactly where we are right now. Seems like he had a lot of experience and time spent out here. Whether or not it was actually because he was hiding his secret gold or not, I don't know. But it's kind of cool to walk in those same areas. Potentially where he hid his riches. You know, I don't think I mentioned it earlier either, but legend has it that he found it almost eerily similar to the Ruth story, where the son was a lawyer and helped somebody. Supposedly, Jacob Waltz, the Dutchman, was out here and came across a member of the Peralta family, one of the closer descendants, apparently, I guess, because they had the last name Peralta, and they were injured. He helped them out of the desert or whatever he did, and that Peralta member paid him back by alluding him to the whereabouts of the mine and showing him the actual location. At least that's how the story goes. That one we'll just have to chalk up to unconfirmed legend. There's no no newspaper reports or anything like that on that. But yeah, eventually, believe it or not though, we are going to go right alongside that. Not up top it, but alongside it. As we make our way towards this cave that I marked in my notes probably 6-8 years ago. I can't even remember why. So we'll see if that's interesting or not. Getting a little thick actually. As we transition over there. Whew, I'll take this shade though. Oh my gosh. It's like air conditioning in here. Nice little cool down before we hump it over to the needle. Whew. Getting that elevation. All right, I think this is about as close as we get to Weaver's Needle. Looks completely different up close from the other side though, right? It's definitely more prominent looking at it that way. And there's that other little maze of Monadnock. Come a long way already from that. I guess we're a few miles in. Should be pretty close to that cave at this point. One more little adventure to get things a little cherry on top of our expedition here. Huh. Well, I thought the tough thing to find was just going to be gold, but I don't see any evidence of this heart cave. I don't know. Maybe it's one of these features, and my expectations are too high. But it appears to be missing. Speaking of missing, though, I'll give you two little more pieces of intrigue about our main characters before we melt off the rest of this descent to civilization. First one, Adolph Ruth. When he left the ranch to set off on his expedition, he had brought along a paper map that he had drawn based on the information he received about the whereabouts. That was not amongst the items recovered. The loaded pistol, the checkbook, etc. The map was not to be found. Now granted, it's a piece of paper, I get it, but would have assumed it would maybe be with his checkbook since he kept his notes there as well. But interesting. And lastly, our final bit of intrigue regards the Dutchman himself, Jacob Waltz. He sold gold and showed up in town with gold numerous times over the years, including, remember that big payoff about 10 years before his death, $250,000 that he got from the US Mint. Pretty big chunk for 1881 or so. Well, when he passed, he didn't leave anything behind monetarily other than $1,500. Sure, I guess he could have pulled an MC Hammer. I mean, it's definitely possible to squander your wealth. That's a lot of money, and that's just the one sale. I don't know the amounts of the other gold that he sold. Hey, you know, it's possible. Maybe he squandered it all. Or maybe, I don't know. We may never know. In my case, I've given up my dreams of finding gold out here. Today, at least. I think the only thing gold in my future is gonna be in a heavily processed form on top of my burger this afternoon once I get out of here, get a hot meal. In fact, I can see the reflection of cars in the Dayhackers parking lot right there. We have come full circle. Man, yeah, not bad. I'm gonna call that mission complete. There you have it. Superstition Wilderness and the tale of the lost Dutchman's gold. And there is a ton more to it, all kinds of different theories out there. If you're interested in this story, it's a pretty fun history. I highly suggest you look it up and check it out. And I hope you enjoyed hiking with me on this one. I had a great time, but I'm also very hungry. Got a long drive ahead of me. So I'm gonna get this pack off, go find a little bite to eat, and yeah, there you go. So until next time, I'm Syntax77, and right now, it's cheeseburger time.